For sure. Thank you, Maureen. And just if you don't mind, I'll just quickly share. And Jim, as you said, I know there's a lot of people that have heard my story, but it is a high impact story. And as Dr. Lee said, these products are not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. I'd love to say that myself before I go into my story as well. But, you know, here I am talking to you from a place that I thought I'd never be, and that's involved in the network marketing industry. The only reason I got involved, it was a byproduct of losing my health, and the rest is history as far as, you know, where we are today. But anybody that wants to look at the full story, I'll go through this because I don't want to get into too much time because we got an incredible speaker in Jerry Yerke, JY here, and we want to hear a lot from Jerry today. But you know, I thought I was doing really, really well in life. I looked after myself. As far as I was concerned, ate correctly. I supplemented with different supplements. I exercised. I trained. Going back, the reason why I was so active is because I was a kid who hated school and distracted myself from school by playing many sports. I got into rugby, judo, gymnastics, aerobics, surfing, and picked up weights at the age of 13, and the age of 19 started competing bodybuilding, and then got to 24, which was coming to the end of my bodybuilding career, and did really well. And this is what I was passionate about at the time. And not only that, I moved into business, traditional business in the health and fitness industry after figuring out that working for one of the big four banks, I didn't want to exchange time for money anymore. So not only I was a bodybuilder, I was in the health and fitness industry. I was a personal trainer. I trained different people for different sports. I also was entrenched in being a young entrepreneur in the health and fitness industry. So life was just incredible for me at that time. So here I am starting as a young entrepreneur in something that I absolutely loved, and something that sort of evolved. What happened was I literally became good at building and selling traditional businesses. So I sort of moved from the health and fitness industry after doing really well into security, construction, hospitality, ended up building and selling 20 traditional businesses over 20 years. And throughout that period of my life and financially successful, I always looked after myself with my health. Well, with the knowledge that I had at the time anyway. So if you fast forward from the age 24 to 44, this is a photo of me looking quite good at 44, not a bodybuilder anymore, but I used to go to the gym every single morning, do a lot of cardiovascular work, and I was in good shape. As we say in Australia, I was in good nick. If there's anything you don't understand because I speak Aussie, just stick your hand up and I'll rephrase it. So I was in good shape here. I was in good nick. And fortunately for me, being in this condition, it was easy to recognize something that wasn't quite right. And 6 months later, I felt something in my abdomen that didn't feel right. It felt hard. It felt like it was pushing on other things in there. And I went for a checkup, and the doctor that I went to gave me some really bad news. He told me that I didn't have one, but I had two major challenges. And this was the start of me going through 2.5 years of hospital visits. This is me on the right-hand side, only 6 months after the last photo. I've got no hair from the top of my head to my toes. What I went through, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Fake smile on my face because I was standing with a hero of mine. But I can tell you I was very, very sick at this stage with what the doctors were putting me through. Some days I didn't want to live anymore. It was just a horrendous time in my life. And young Johnny Manor here, he'd been through a lot of the hospital visits that I had started here. Fortunately for him, he had what the doctors considered to be the good problem, whereas I had two of the bad issues. And he was in remission. So he was all good. He went back to playing the highest levels of rugby in Australia. But unfortunately for him, after this photo was taken, his problem came back. He went back into hospital, started going through all those terrible things that made him lose his hair from top to bottom, lost a lot of weight. And unfortunately for him, his family, his fans, for us, he didn't come out of that hospital. We lost him at the age of 23. So that was back in 2009. And that got me thinking, you know, what was going to happen to me moving forward after the doctors finished with me? He was half my age, less than half my age, twice as fit. He had, as I said, what the doctors considered to be the good one, where I had two major issues that weren't going away in a hurry or weren't going away at all as far as the doctors were concerned. And that sort of prompted me to hit my doctors between the eyes and ask them the question, what is going to happen to me moving forward after everything I'd been through? And straight out, they told me to get my affairs in order. So that was a huge shock, because growing up in Sydney, Australia, you know, if we got sick, our parents took us to the doctors. There was a little old house on the corner with a little old surgery light, and we got some antibiotics and we took a couple of pills and we were off and running again. So my head was thinking that way and was thinking I was going to be okay, but that wasn't going to be the case. So I had to switch to what I didn't believe in, and that was chiropractors and osteopaths and naturopaths and homeopaths and all these things that I thought were absolutely quackery, that were outside, you know, the norm. So I did that. I did some research. That led to an alkaline diet, totally cleaned up my diet, tried everything that I could to keep my diet was as clean as possible. I had to flick the switch on something else that I didn't believe in. As I said at the beginning of this call, friends approaching me with incredible products from the network marketing industry. So I went and purchased Zango's mangosteen juice, drinking a bottle a day, an Isogenics product B, their marquee product. I can mention these because I took them. Life Vantage Pro Tandem, the NFR2 technology that they had in that product, Kangen water, Cellgevity products, religiously taking all these products for 2 years, doing the best thing by my body. And unfortunately, this was the result after 2 years. So doctors were telling me that my blood works were still heading in the wrong direction. So this is now 2014. You guys know Bart Cotter, a friend of mine who reached out to me and said, I think I found something that can help. He was obviously told about Asea by Ed Weens. And long story short, I got on a plane, Sydney, Australia, flew to Salt Lake City, Utah, and I started drinking Asea's marquee product, which was a cell signaling supplement. In 3 hours, my body was expelling things from it so fast, I had little red spots all over my upper torso. In 12 hours, a 20-year caffeine intolerance had subsided. Stomach problem that I had from drinking coffee, where I had bloating and discomfort. But the light bulb went on 2 to 3 days on the product. I had so much lung damage from what they did to me in that hospital, where I had trouble breathing and talking. Lungs were functioning perfect, just a short 48, 72 hours on the product. Plenty of belief to go back to Australia to keep using the product. And I did that. And long story short, 1 year later, this is the day the doctors told me there was no sign of those two major challenges, multiple injuries from playing sports that were turning into that crippling issue as I was getting older, all had gone away. 20 years of pollen problems, sneezing, runny nose, all had disappeared, including a whole list of other things. So my body was rebuilt in 12 months on the product. Moving forward another 2 years, and you know, not only we know that this is the biggest breakthrough in health, but anti-aging as well. You can see I'm looking younger in 3 years on the product. So that was a little bit about my story, back to health, back to looking younger and feeling younger. And it was just incredible how really, for me, with where I came from, I suppose I took for granted the health that I did have. Unfortunately, lost my health through flipping properties and using a horrendous weed killer by Monsanto, which got into my system, which caused all sorts of problems. And I can tell you as an update right now that off my own back, not for my own peace of mind, but for the proof, the evidence that I spent a lot of money recently, just a few months ago in Hawaii, and totally checked up every single angle you can come across from the experts, and everything is absolutely perfect.